What's up, guys? It's Graham here. So in the middle of a recession, one industry seems to be absolutely booming with the promise of making a lot of people really rich, and that would be artificial intelligence. For example, I told OpenAI's ChatGPT to write a YouTube video in the style of Graham Stephan on real estate investing and make it 25 minutes long. And in less than a minute, I had a complete outline. In fact, it was so good that I just asked it to add a little bit of humor. And in a few seconds, it says, we're gonna make this as fun as buying a new toilet, because let's be real, who doesn't love a good toilet? Honestly, in terms of using this to make money, its potential is really only limited by the questions you're willing to ask it. And from what I've seen, this is really only the tip of the iceberg in terms of what's possible, since this could be used by almost anyone, anywhere to generate an income, from freelancers, entrepreneurs, to business owners, and people online who make jokes about a toilet. So let's talk about exactly what this is, why it's already starting to become such a big business, how people are able to generate substantial wealth from a concept that's only just begun, and then finally how you could use this information to make you money on this episode of Terminator 7: The Rise of Stolen Art. Alright, so first of all, I don't think you fully understand just how much AI is currently being used throughout almost every aspect of your life. Just take Google for an example. Like if you go in a new browser and you type in how many, it'll auto-populate with the most common suggestions that you might be interested in. But when you search for Terminator and then type in how many, it knows that you're probably asking how many Terminator movies there are. And when you start noticing all of these tiny things, you'll begin to realize just how accurate it's becoming. For example, in 2018, Facebook revealed to be using artificial intelligence that would predict your future behavior and then serve that to advertisers before you even know you needed it. Other algorithms are known for feeding you content that it's predicted you'll watch based on past behavior, and if we take it a step further, it could be used for determining whether or not two people are romantically compatible or how long your existing relationship could last, all from using the data that you give it. Although in its most basic form, in terms of how this applies to you, let's talk about the technology that's gaining the most attention as a potential business, and that would be ChatGPT. Now, I'm not going to bore you with too many nuances because there are plenty of YouTube videos out there going over every imaginable detail, but as a high-level overview, just think of it like this. ChatGPT is a computer program that allows you to ask it almost anything, and it'll spit back an answer using its artificial intelligence. To show you just how insane this is, I tested it out by asking it to write a script in the style of Graham Stephan about how people could make money with ChatGPT, and in seconds, I had an outline that was even detailed enough to know the style of my intro. Then from there, I told it to make it funnier, and it added a segment to my style of, "But Graham, I already have enough chatbots in my life. I don't need another one." I seriously can't make this stuff up. It understood my videos well enough that it could predict the jokes I make and then place them in the correct spots throughout the video. I could probably even have it write sales scripts, emails, birthday cards, thank you letters, or even a legal template for a liability release in the state of Nevada. Now obviously the software isn't perfect, and there could be some serious problems to using this that I'll discuss shortly, but on the most fundamental level, the applications of this could be infinite if you know how to give it the proper inputs. For example, building apps. Like one of the first videos I watched on the subject was from the YouTube channel Joshua Maroney, who built an app from start to finish just using the chatbot's recommendation. And then when he had a question, he could ask it back to the chatbot to get an answer. So of course, I went ahead and asked it to give me the code to create a jumping game for iOS, and within a minute, it spit out the results. Now obviously, I'm not a developer at all, and I have no idea what any of this stuff means. So I then went and asked it, how do I create a new iOS game on a Mac computer? And it literally gave me the entire blueprint. I then followed the directions, but then got stuck for an hour trying to learn Xcode. But I was able to get some help from a subscriber on Instagram, who I'll link to in the description, and within a short time after, the so-called game was at least kind of functional. Now granted, I only spent about an hour trying to learn the mechanics of building a mobile game, and I still had to ask for help and couldn't figure it out on my own. But the fact that you could use a free resource to build something that you could potentially sell is mind-blowing for somebody who comes with a very limited background to learning how to do something like this. Not to mention, this extends throughout almost anything. Like you want to build a landing page for a coffee company? Just ask and you could preview the page here. Or you could ask it to be more modern, and there it goes. Now after I spent a few days tinkering with this, I understand that it's not 100% perfect, but you know what? It's close. And for somebody who already has the understanding of the basics, it could be used to dramatically speed up the process and have AI do the framework for you. Now the second application I found incredibly interesting was writing. In fact, weeks before messing around with the software, I read an article about an author who created an entire children's book using artificial intelligence. And I have to say, it sounded like a genius idea. He explains that he gave ChatGPT the general idea, then went back and forth honing the topics, and then used the Discord server Midjourney to create a style of artificially generated images from which he could use to illustrate his book. And within a weekend, the book was published online. But not everyone was happy. See, typically a book like this would require the creativity of its writer and combine that with the artistic ability of an illustrator to bring those words to life. But with AI, a program could simply scrape the internet for images, rearrange them, and then they're indistinguishable from the real thing. On top of that, there's also the question of who owns the images. Is it the person who asks, or is it the data from which the information was gathered and sourced? Something like this actually reminds me of the website thispersondoesnotexist.com, which compiles images and then rearranges facial features to give you an entirely new person who does not actually exist. Now, we'll get to the dangers of artificial imaging shortly, but as of now, the writing feature opens the door to some rather unique opportunities for anyone wanting to create sales scripts, essays, emails, or pretty much anything that you could ask for in a fraction of the time that it would take to write on your own. And it would probably do a better job than most people since it has the ability to scour the internet for the best information. AI also takes it a step further by paraphrasing and rewording specific sentences to give you an alternative text to use. For example, I took one of my outlines from a previous video, ran it through, and came out with a new outline with notations for each word that was changed. To me, it's completely scary how this could be used to essentially copy someone else's work and then change it up enough not to be picked up by plagiarism filters, but you have to admit, it's pretty impressive how well this is able to deliver information, and even Elon Musk called it scary good. You also have another unique aspect of this, and that would be imaging. Even though an app like Lensa AI has been gaining a lot of popularity throughout Instagram, with everybody posting these AI-generated images of themselves, the Discord group Midjourney takes this a step further and creates whatever you could imagine for free. Now, it's probably not something that's going to make you a fortune because the market's being flooded with AI-generated images, but with some basic Photoshop skills, you could use this service to dramatically speed up the process of creating an image. Like, say for example, I want to use this image, but instead of a Tesla in the background, I want it to be in the middle of an ocean with a shark in the background and a treasure chest. Well, in the past, I would have to find each of those images separately and import them into Photoshop and blend them together. But by asking Midjourney, I could get a workable background and cut around the parts that I want to use to create the perfect image. Not to mention, as AI eventually gets more advanced, I would not be surprised if one day we could create photorealistic images that would be indistinguishable from the real thing. Like, why spend tens of thousands of dollars creating a professional photo shoot of a Big Mac when you could have AI generate the exact same image you're looking for in minutes? From there, imagine this extends throughout cartoons, movies, or even influencer deepfakes. Like, just watch this video from the New York Times. If you thought she was real, she's actually a deepfake, and it's only getting more and more lifelike. And from the way I see it, something like Midjourney is not a replacement for all things images, but just like every other aspect of AI, it could be used to speed up the process dramatically and is only limited to the questions you're able to ask it. But as far as putting all of this together to make money, a few ideas come to mind, like investing in AI-based companies, writing sales pages for blogs or clients, or using its information to create your own content that you can monetize. Although instead of breaking down those businesses, since ChatGPT could easily do that for you, I thought it would be more interesting to break down the risks and downsides that almost no one is talking about, because I guarantee it's never going to be as easy as you think. To start, I'm a bit concerned that most people don't realize the cutoff point for ChatGPT's knowledge is based on late 2021, so anything newer than that doesn't exist in its frame of reference. Of course, in the big picture, this isn't that big of a deal, and if they expand the system to eventually cover breaking information, it could easily be incorporated. But that brings us to the second point, in that the information isn't necessarily factual. For example, the website Stack Overflow banned ChatGPT as substantially harmful for coding issues. They also said that the average rate of getting correct answers from ChatGPT is too low, leaving them with no other option than to prevent their answers from being listed. What's even worse, though, is that the AI sounds extremely confident and could frequently mislead their users who take it at face value. In fact, our brains are wired to respond to confidence, partly because we've evolved to follow someone who seems to know what they're talking about. And because of that, it's essential that you be critical of all the information you receive, which, let's be real, most people don't want to think for themselves. In addition to that, you're also prone to receiving regurgitated, generic information. See, one of the benefits of a search is that it casts a wide net of information, and then you can assimilate the bits and pieces that you're looking for to form an open perspective. But in the case of AI, it's often pulling from the same basket of information, which could be why quite a few of the videos here on YouTube seem eerily similar. Not to mention there have been quite a few biases in the system, which was the experience experience of one Twitter user or the unfortunate case of a Twitter bot who took a turn for the worse. And finally, the largest downside that I see is that AI cannot form and share experiences. The thing is, there's nothing more powerful than a real-life story with perspective, emotion, and empathy. That's something that AI has yet to replicate, and there's no substitute for first-hand knowledge. Now granted, it's still insanely impressive to get more than 1 million users in 5 days, which gives Mr. Beast a run for his money, but in terms of practical uses, here's where I think it'll absolutely disrupt everyday businesses in just the next few years. First, customer service. As of right now, most chatbots that you see are absolutely terrible. They're slow, they're clumsy, and every situation is too unique to get a desired outcome with a predetermined answer. In fact, 78% of consumers are connected to a person after failing to resolve their needs with the bot. But I have a feeling that's soon going to change. As AI technology advances, we're probably going to get to a point where you have no idea you're talking to a computer, leading us to number 2, video. Google was able to create 2 side-by-side deepfakes that were able to have a fully self-aware 6-minute conversation about their lives as a robot. And even though they just seem a little bit off, the video is from 18 months ago, which is forever in internet time. And I promise, technology like this tends to be exponential, with each year being able to outpace the advancements of the year prior tenfold. Just take this Google Assistant AI phone call as an example. Their AI technology was able to book appointments in a human tone without the other person even knowing they were talking to a robot.
I'm looking for something on May 3rd. Sure, give me 1 second.
That means with enough time, we'll be able to create completely lifelike videos with people that don't actually exist, that we have no idea doesn't exist. Of course, the downside is that it might one day become sentient, which Google denies, but regardless, we have third, search. My theory is that if AI is able to predict what we want to search for and the type of information we want, it would be able to assimilate that within a video that you could watch just like anything else on YouTube. Like say for example, you want to learn how to fix a flat tire. Well, instead of sifting through hundreds of YouTube videos that usually have fluff in the beginning and ask you to hit the like button and have affiliate links in the description and mention that you could get a free stock when you sign up down below at their sponsor public.com with using the code GRAHAM that's worth all the way up to $1,000 when you make a deposit. Well, besides all of that, AI might be able to generate the perfect video that applies to exactly what you're looking for without any fluff. Like imagine you're able to ask a question and it generates the exact video that you need for exactly what your question is with the exact model of car that you have. In theory, all of that is possible, and whoever is able to control that could essentially control the internet. Personally, I think AI is a tool that's really incredible. Like being able to develop web designs within seconds, giving the basics of code for an app, or giving the blueprint of a script. But I don't think it's at the point yet where anyone could give it free rein of creativity without a human going in and correcting the mistakes. Like right now, it's perfect for tasks that simply speed up an existing process, like search results or getting a quick outline from which you could build upon. But all of those are fairly low risk, and if they're wrong, it's not like anything bad is going to happen. Right? Although once we go beyond the bare minimum, the danger becomes that we'll begin to lose our understanding of why the chatbot gives the answers it does. Like sure, you could ask it something and get a response back, but you'll never truly understand how it came to that conclusion or how you got that specific answer. That's why I think it's a really great tool for laying the foundation, but it's really up to the person to then have the knowledge to know if that information is actually correct or what needs to be done about it. No doubt it has a lot of potential, but I personally think it's years away from being able to match what a human could do with critical thinking and analysis. But hey, if and when it does become indistinguishable from the real thing to the point where AI can create the perfect song within the perfect movie with the perfect people, then maybe at someday we'll see Terminator 7 written by AI. So with that said, you guys, thank you so much for watching. As always, feel free to add me on Instagram, and don't forget that you can claim a free stock with their sponsor public.com down below in the description when you use the code GRAHAM and make a deposit, because that could be worth all the way up to $1,000. So you may as well do it. Enjoy it. Let me know what stock you get. Thank you so much, and until next time.